What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2, the PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, Indie Game Dev, and my UK bruv from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how the heck are you?
I'm very good. I just noticed how untidy my room is in the background, so apologies.
It's pretty bad. You're getting there. It's been 2 weeks now or whatever, but you're getting there. Do you have a plan for how you're going to move stuff around?
Yeah. I mean, I've moved most of it sort of like in the shelves and everything. It's just like I've got some furniture because I've got like a little balcony, so I've got some furniture to put out there. But it's raining really heavily over the past 2 days, so I've just been sort of leaving all that in here. And yeah, it's just because it's sort of the weekend as well. I just haven't really spent much time here to do anything. So, but yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll clean up.
Gotcha. Well, Callum, how you been this week? Playing any games? I know we talked a little lightly about you finally being able to jump into Resident Evil demo. At least you'll be up to date on 3 weeks ago when we all been playing it, but at least you have some experience playing that. But how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, I've been. What have I been playing? I haven't been playing much. I've started watching Yasuke on Netflix about the famous sort of black samurai who served under Oda Nobunaga, and that's really cool. It's like a really cool take on the sort of like period. It's got like mechs and like this really cool like lo-fi sort of like weird soundtrack to it, and it's just a really cool like historical tale. So it's nice to see it being retold. It's written by the guy who wrote what was it he wrote? Let me find out real quick. But it's I definitely recommend it. So it's like one of those Netflix sort of animated series as well, where it's only like 6 episodes.
Gotcha.
Let me have a look. So it's Lakeith, is it Stanfield, who voices Yasuke, and he's really, really good in it. Okay. I think he's from Get Out and Atlanta.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I know that guy.
It was LaShawn Thomas who created it. And he's made some really cool stuff before. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a good show. I've got like a couple of episodes left, but I've been sort of watching that in the evenings. And I've been playing a little bit more Returnal, not getting very far in it because I'm not very good at it. And I played the Resident Evil Village demo.
When you mentioned that anime, that reminds me, have you caught on to Invincible at all?
I haven't. I've heard about it, and I do want to watch that.
It's dope.
That's definitely on the list because it looks.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think it's only like 7 something episodes on Amazon, but yeah, the first episode is kind of weird and slow, and it seems like a very standard anime kind of or a comic book retelling, in anime form. But then the way it ends, that first episode, it's heavy, and then it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. It's really good. You got to watch it.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely get onto that.
Gotcha, Callum. Well, we can jump into some of that stuff here. I was going to mention, Callum, I don't know if you realize that it's National Outdoor Intercourse Day. So I don't know if you're going to be celebrating that, but I pulled up some info on this. So this is a real holiday, apparently. I just got an alert, like I was scrolling through my phone and realized that, this is a thing. So here's a little blurb from it. So today's National Outdoor Intercourse Day. It's a day to get out in the great outdoors and do the nasty. This special day seems most popular in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from, actually, I didn't realize, where it originated on the college campus of Washington State University. So yeah, you have some plans that you can enjoy the holiday today, whether you're alone or with somebody. You could just get out there and celebrate it. And it's legal because you're celebrating the holiday, so you got full immunity. There we go.
Sure, yeah, I don't think there'll be much anonymity in where I live, especially. But it's interesting. It's always sort of weird how you have these like weird holidays. Like the other day was World Password Day, which I took just to realize what that even meant. But apparently it's like to celebrate having strong passwords or something. But yeah, that's also a holiday.
Yeah, tell that to your grandparents and like parents above 50. They just use the same. I mean, I also will use the same password. I need to change it up, but yeah, tell it to them.
Yeah, there are some strange ones, but I didn't know that. I don't know whether it like spreads over to here or whether it's just a Washington State thing that you invented and co-founded.
Yeah, if I look at that post, it's actually just me. I'm the author, so I'm just starting it today. So you want to carry it over to the UK? You're more than welcome to. All right, Callum. So let's chat about what we've been playing. So what about Returnal first? So I've been playing Returnal a bit this week, and I want to see if your thoughts or feelings have changed on it anymore. I'm still very stuck in that first biome, but I'm getting a little better at it. I had these initial, I wouldn't say like negative thoughts on it, but I was a bit bummed that I couldn't get further in the game. But even though I'm not really any further at all, like I'm able to reach that first boss a little bit faster now, and I'm just a little more confident. But how you feel now, week playing more Returnal?
Yeah, I still really like it. I managed to beat the first boss and get to the second like desert area, but I just can't beat the second boss. I really can't do it. I'm starting to sort of get used to like what is needed from me, like. Because you unlock these sort of shortcuts when you like make good progression. So I can now get to the second biome like really quickly, and even there's like a shortcut to the second boss in the second biome. But the problem I found is it's not good to take shortcuts because you want to kill as much as you can to get your weapon proficiency up and get your weapons sort of stronger, ready for that boss. So, but yeah, I've been randomly struggling to like even just kill like the first biome enemies now. Like I was at a stage where I could easily run around and kill everything and get to at least the second boss, and then he'll kill me straight away. But I can't even like get him now, so I don't know what's happened. I've just got really, really bad, or whether the game's just somehow got harder. But yeah, I mean, I've been really enjoying it. I just finding it hard to get far in. It is very, very difficult.
Yeah, I've noticed over just reading the internet and other forums and stuff, little tidbits I didn't realize before. And some stuff I guess should have been obvious to me, but I had the tendency to just kind of go straight for the boss every time, and not, like you said, kind of going through the world and actually leveling up or finding better weapons and that kind of thing, and just trying to make sure I'm ready for that boss. And I would look for like one or two, at least like a better weapon upgrade, and then go straight for that boss. But that's not really the case. You kind of want to spend as much time as you can just finding whatever collectibles, and there's always that chance element to it, but you want to spend more time doing that. And I'm focusing on that a bit more, and also just getting used to the timing with each boss, which is still, that's a standard thing, but I was just running and gunning and going in there. So I think that was a lot of my frustration too. You kind of have to, and it sucks that it takes so long to get to that boss, and then you die instantly, but you have to try and remember that timing and the dance and you're required with whatever boss. But I'm having a bit more fun with it. Apparently, I didn't realize this before, but apparently if you fast travel back to your ship and sleep, apparently that will restore your health. That's a thing. I don't know if the game told me that, or I didn't realize that. There's a lot of little bits like that. It's like, I don't know if they told me and it was super obvious, and I didn't read something, but there's a lot of little things that are there that I didn't know about.
Yeah, there's a few things that I've sort of found, like there seems to be quite a few ways to respawn. Like if you die, you just come straight back, like a second life kind of thing. Like you can get the astronaut figurine, which you can pretty much always buy at that like little kind of circular shop thing that there is. So I always make sure I buy that. And there's those reconstruction sort of portals that you can spend Ether on that will do the same thing. It will basically spawn you back there. But it's really annoying because I was on a really good run. In fact, this is the first time I got to the second boss. And I had one of the astronaut figurines. I had like all my weapons really leveled up, and so I knew I had an extra life. And I also had a parasite on me, which also would bring me back to life. So I had 2 extra lives.
Whoa.
And I also had I had paid 6 Ether in the first biome for that reconstruction thing. And I was fighting the second boss. And it's the first time I'd fought him, and I'd already died twice. I'd used up both my lives, and he was almost dead. But I remember thinking, well, I've got one more life because I paid 6 Ether for that thing. But I didn't, because that was in the first biome, and so when you get to the second one, it just wipes that. So yeah, it seems to be, to me anyway, that trying to get as many extra lives as you can, at least getting that astronaut every time, and trying to sort of save your Ether and find that room where that reconstruction portal seems to be quite important. But yeah, I think running around, getting your weapon proficiency leveled up, and then saving up your obolites and spending them on artifacts whenever you get a chance seems to be a pretty good way, but I don't know. I'm not one to give advice because I still can't get past the second boss.
Yeah, I'm still, farting around in the first biome, but I am starting to, because I had very strong feelings of like, I wouldn't mind if I had some, we talked about it last week, but I wouldn't mind if I had some kind of sliders for how fast stuff, your weapons, the ammo anyways, regenerates, or how much damage you take, just slight sliders. I wouldn't mind that, but as I'm playing the game more, I'm starting to understand more of that idea. You'd see on tons of comments where it's like, just get good, just kind of learn the game. I get that a bit more. It's like, maybe I was just reactionary a little bit at the beginning. I'm having a bit more fun trying to figure out the game. So I'm kind of leaning more towards, okay, just let's play this as it is. I know online I'll see a lot of variation where it's like some people are praising the game. It's perfect. They love their experience with it. Some people die rarely, which is nuts to me. But then you'll have the other spectrum that just like can't play it, super frustrated. So it is kind of a wide like temperature out there with a lot of people feeling different ways on it. But I'm starting to kind of understand it. I'm getting a little bit better, but I'm putting that to bed a little bit, the need for some adjustment on it. I wouldn't mind if they bring that out. Cool. Then I will definitely adjust it for my playstyle, but I'm understanding it a bit more and having a bit more fun. They had some update drama with one of the last patches where it was like not breaking systems, it was like corrupting saves. Did you experience any of that? I just kind of waited till that newest update, which was a day ago or so, that fixed that.
Luckily, my internet's not good enough to keep me sort of updated. So I've probably only just installed like the newest one. So I probably unintentionally skipped that one.
Gotcha.
Luckily, but yeah, I'm not able to keep sort of up to date with anything that requires internet connection.
Gotcha. Yeah, the positive thing about those new updates was at least that they were fixing some of the issues with just crashes. And I encountered a couple where you need to, in order to leave a room, you got to pick up an item, but that item, the button for that item would not pop up, the button prompt. So you'd have to just reset your run basically there. So that happened a couple times. I had the PS5 simply just freeze and crash once on me. So since then, I haven't experienced anything like that. So at least they were conscious of that and working on those things behind the scenes. But yeah, they had some drama with that update, apparently like just corrupting saves and messing stuff up. So it seems to be fixed now. But yeah, I'm having more fun. I have put it on hold because Resident Evil now has dropped and I'm playing that way more. But yeah, it's still, I want to go back to this and eventually try and beat this thing.
Yeah, I think that's what's quite nice about Returnal is you can just like I know that the runs are quite long, but I find that like I'll be in bed and sort of winding down for the day. I'll have a quick run on Returnal or which will sometimes turn into like 2 or 3. I think it's quite a nice game to do that with. But yeah, hopefully Resident Evil will be finished installing for me. So I'll probably play through that or going back to Returnal, because I doubt the new Resident Evil will be that long, knowing Resident Evil games. So
right.
Hopefully it doesn't overstay its welcome and just let me get through it fairly quickly.
You mentioned an interesting point. I felt this way playing Returnal, where there's like this weird gambling feeling where sometimes you jump in and you get this perfect assortment of update or upgrades and whatnot, where you have like a great run. So I've put the game down after being super frustrated. Then the next day I'll pick it up again. And that first run, I'll get quickly to that boss, like out of nowhere. So there's this weird where it's like, okay, one more run, one more chance, because you never know what you're going to get this next playthrough. So it is kind of this addictive feeling that I do like. It doesn't work every time, but I do like that feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, Callum. Well, let's jump into, we got some news, but first I want to talk about some Resident Evil. So I've been playing the actual game as of yesterday. I'm about 3 hours in, but you have yet, because of your crappy internet, to jump in. Maybe next week I'll finish downloading. But until then, you have played the demo. What are your thoughts on some of that experience with, you played the Village demo, right?
Yeah, I was actually really, really impressed with how good the sort of story and the acting all seemed, because that's always an area where Resident Evil it's always just really crazy and fun and sort of that B-movie kind of thing. I know Resident Evil 7 tried to be a little bit more serious as well, but I don't think it kind of hit the mark completely. I didn't find like Ethan to be that great of a character, and it was there wasn't much enemy sort of designs and things like that. But no, but the acting is amazing in Village, and the story seems really interesting, and Ethan seems like a really interesting character to sort of control in the game. Like the part where you go into that house with the sort of sick old man and he suddenly turns and starts killing everybody. It was just really, really well done. And it's just interesting to see Resident Evil sort of take this turn where it is starting to actually have some kind of like narrative prowess, which is quite exciting. I found the combat really difficult. I know that's just me being really rubbish, but there are like 2 enemies in like the sort of crops, and I just wasted my ammo straight away. Didn't even nearly kill either of them, so I ended up just like running away from them. So I don't know if that's what they're going for, or whether I was just not doing very well. But yeah, no, I'm really, really excited now because I was a bit, down on it because of how difficult the demo was to get onto. But after playing it, I'm really excited to play it now and and see it through.
Yeah, with the difficulty, so I experienced a little bit of that too. It's a lot of it is the enemies will just absorb punishment. So I can unload, 8, 10 bullets into an enemy, and then they move in a way where it's hard, especially with the Lycans, with the werewolves, where they will shift and kind of dodge as they're coming at you. So you can't just get easy headshots. So I do at the moment it's balanced where it's challenging, but it's not like too challenging. But I do like how, it's not easy to get shots on these guys. And then they have weapons to boot as well, where they'll bring various weapons with them. You can do things in this one where you can block, and then if you block at the correct time, or if you hold it with L1, I want to say, you can then push them, and which will make them stumble and kind of slow down and get headshots that way. Or I figured out way too late, the flower that's hidden around, you can slash that, which almost like creates a mist that will cause them to not be able to see, so you can get shots off that way. There's also explosive barrels randomly throughout the world too. But yeah, they definitely take way more punishment. So you have to, find as much ammo as you can, start to craft as much ammo as you can. We can get into some of the reviews for the actual RE Village, because some of the reviews mention the action parts of the game where sometimes it relies too heavily on action, they feel. I don't get that vibe yet, but it seems like later on in the game they're feeling that. But I'll pull up some of the actual reviews here so we can scan through them. So on Metacritic, it has an 84, which is super positive. So Game Informer has one of the highest ones, gives it a 93. Village doesn't pull any punches when it comes to horror, but a consistent rollout of new weapons and tools makes it hard to walk away from these terrors. GameSpot gives it a 90. Village evolves to become its own unique creature. It makes you wonder what beautifully twisted fiend Resident Evil might mutate into the future. IGN gives it an 80. Resident Evil Village is a genuinely engrossing and increasingly combat-heavy continuation of the Ethan Winters story. The Verge has a review in progress, or just a non-numbered review. If you're in it for the outlandish characters and labyrinthian level design, you'll probably love Village. If you'd hope 7 would spark a fresh new direction for the series, though, you might be disappointed. And then Eurogamer kind of rounds out the bottom here. The delightful level design isn't enough to mitigate a strange, unsatisfying, plot hole-ridden story, and the bizarre final act ultimately sullies what is an otherwise terrifyingly good horror romp. Overall, it's pretty positive, but I know some of the stuff I've been reading say that maybe it gets too action-heavy at points, and it kind of pulls away from that survival horror aspect of it. But do you feel that all in the demo? Are they balancing the right amount of action and still making you feel tense and scared while you're playing?
Yeah, from what I played, it didn't seem to be like reliant on action at all. It was very much that like haunted horror, haunted house sort of vibe where you're kind of going through this experience. And I didn't even play the castle demo. So, again, running past those 2 enemies and getting into that house and then, helping them get into this other house and then going through that whole experience and the house that sets on fire. It was all just, very enjoyable. I know it's only the demo, so I'm sure the full game's different, but I don't mind the reliance on combat. I think Resi 7 actually suffered because of that, not because it didn't have a lot of combat, but because the combat that was there wasn't very good. So it can still be scary, and I'm sure it will be, but actually have like good combat, then I'm fine with that. I don't mind. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, and that was hugely reliant on action. So, I'm all for whatever direction they've gone down.
Yeah, and so far in the actual release of Resident Evil Village, so I'm about 3 hours in. There's some crazy intense moments in the very beginning to where you definitely don't feel overpowered or able to match what's going on at all. So I think they're really balancing that out. Once you get to the actual castle, there's a lot of that where it's very tense. You have that big ass lady, the tall lady, Lady Dimitrescu, who's chasing you various points. I don't know if she chases you the entire game. I kind of don't mind it because I don't mind her always, watching over me and chasing me. But it's when she's walking around, it's intense, and you can hear much like Mr. X or Nemesis in the last one. And so they're always keeping you just on the edge of your seat, and you never quite feel like you're ready for what you're gonna fight, but they throw you in there. So I think they're balancing that pretty well. Maybe there's points I can tell where there is a lot of weapon combat, but I think they so far balance it where, you don't feel like you're just going to mow down everybody. You just have just enough ammo, and you can craft it, which is cool, but it's still hard to find the stuff to craft. It's not everywhere. So they're balancing it where it's not like a Call of Duty shooter kind of thing.
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. It doesn't, and I think from playing the demo, it doesn't seem like, again, it was easy enough for it to be completely action base. So, but either way, I'm happy to shoot werewolves or run away from them, either the same.
Right. I did pull this up. So IGN had their IGN First with Resident Evil, and they got some info on just the development and how early it started. So this is Village development started 6 months before RE7 released. So released in an IGN First feature about the making of and inspirations behind Village, director Morimasa Sato explains, "We were still busy developing Resident Evil 7, but my boss told me to start planning for the next entry in the series. At the time, we had no idea how users would react towards the new horror experience and characters of 7 yet." So this started pretty early, and it's not insane for sequel development to start like once they're getting close to the finish line on the current title. But RE7 was such a big departure for them to kind of, I guess be assured that it was going to be successful and double down on it seems kind of nuts to me. But apparently they were working on this while, RE7 was still yet to be released.
Yeah, it's really interesting to sort of know that they had kind of like just put everything into that and, risked, a lot to assume that everybody would enjoy it. But I don't actually think that many people were that interested in Ethan. But again, I don't think, as much as like Chris and Leon and all these characters are really beloved and they are like a big part of the game, I don't think that was, especially being a first person horror experience, I don't think that was the main pull or the main thing that people liked from Resident Evil 7. And I think that from what I've seen, Resident Evil 8 seems to be full of a lot more character interaction, a lot more things for Ethan to interact with. So maybe, this will make him more of a compelling character.
Yeah, I think I have those same feelings where with Ethan, I don't really connect to him. He's just kind of an everyday kind of person. And maybe that's the point, but like you said, because all the other villains or enemies that you interact with are so outlandish and out there, you kind of need your first person character for you to take over that role and for them not to have as much character, so you can then focus on the things around you. And it seems like RE7, that's what they did. It's the same in this one where the characters are super weird, super unique. There's times where you meet everybody, the whole gang of villains that are going to torture you for the game. And it's almost like something out of Metal Gear Solid where they're just so strange and weird, but they're intriguing. And so I think that's a conscious decision to make Ethan just bland and not really speak that much and just be someone you don't really think about because the enemies around you are the focus, it seems.
He's like the vessel to sort of experience everything else.
Right. Yeah. So I'm really digging it. I can't wait to jump more into it. But yeah, about 3 hours in, it's pretty scary, pretty spooky. It runs, amazingly well on PS5. Looks gorgeous. I have the ray tracing turned on, and but just because I'm a huge nerd for buzzwords, and if you put ray tracing in it, I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to pretend that it's the best, and it matters. So, but I'm loving it, and it runs really well. So the sound is also nuts. So I'm playing. I'll mix between the speakers on my TV and then like headphones. And the sound is really good, especially when Lady Dimitrescu is walking around. You can hear her stomps and hear the wind around you. It's really, they have to nail the audio. It's like, that's bare minimum, but I think they definitely nail the audio with this. Did you notice that at all in the demo? Were there any takeaways from any of the audio stuff? I don't know if I noticed any haptic feedback or like change in the controller on PS5, but that could just be me.
Yeah, I noticed in the Maiden demo, the first demo, I noticed the sounds and everything. But in the Village demo, I just think there was a lot more like going on, sort of like visually and everything. So maybe I didn't really think about that. But I noticed that there was some like trigger stuff with shooting, like the trigger that when you actually shoot, there's some resistance and things. But yeah, I didn't notice too much of the haptic stuff or the audio on the recent demo I played. But audio wise, I definitely noticed the sort of 3D surround sound in the more sort of confined spaces for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure as well with the, I want to say it was one of the things we talked about a couple weeks ago. There was that alternate mode in RE7 or sorry, RE Village. That's that mercenaries mode or something like that. It's first person as well. It's more actiony. I don't know if that's unlocked when you beat the game or that's going to be some DLC down the line, but I don't see it in the options. But I thought originally it'd be cool to like shift back and forth and play some of that. But it seems like that's something that's maybe down the line and they just announce that it's part of Resident Evil Village. Do you know about that?
I'm from the other games. You normally unlock mercenaries after you beat the game.
Gotcha.
So hopefully it'll be the same there. But yeah, mercenaries is always good fun. It's like a nice score chasing little thing to get into. But that's the thing with Resident Evil where beating the game is just the start because you always unlock like new ways to do things, or you have all the different challenges and the different, the speed runs and maybe different weapons that you'll unlock for doing things in a certain way. So that's always the fun part, is beating the game and then seeing what you.
Yeah. So I'm watching footage as we're playing, just overlaid, and something reminded me of, you'll experience it in the game when you start playing it, but Ethan takes so much damage from the enemies, like actual like scripted stuff where he gets messed up, stuff cut off and messed with, and but he tends to just pour his little elixir or whatever, the health thing around it, and he's fine. And I just don't understand how that works. Like he, put his ear back on and throw some like elixir and like, okay, you're good. It's just the wonkiness is definitely there in this game for sure. But yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's good though. I think that Resident Evil needs that kind of stupidness.
Yes, it's definitely there. But it's always done in a tongue-in-cheek way where it's like it's a part of this whole series now for whatever, 2 decades, more than that. It's a part of this. It's ingrained, just like I mentioned Metal Gear Solid. It's like it has to have that weirdness to it, and that's what makes it a little lighter and fun to kind of balance out the horrible stuff that is happening at the same time. Alrighty, Callum. So yeah, well, I'm excited to see now next week what you think of actually jumping into some Resident Evil 7. It's been a long time for you.
Yeah.
We'll play some, or Resident Evil 8. I keep saying Resident Evil 7. Alrighty, Callum. So I flipped over, or I skipped a couple of these articles just to get to Resident Evil 7, but here's the first one here. There's a couple that have been around online with PlayStation. So we got Sony sued for restricting digital games to PS Store and charging supra competitive prices. This is Armina Khan of PlayStationLifestyle.net. Sony Interactive Entertainment is facing a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for restricting digital game purchases to the PlayStation Store and charging supra competitive prices. 2 years ago, Sony announced that retailers would no longer be able to sell digital game codes for PlayStation, and those who wish to download games will have to do so via the PlayStation Store. According to Bloomberg, the plaintiffs argue that Sony's monopoly allows it to charge super competitive prices for digital PlayStation games, which are significantly higher than their physical counterparts sold in a competitive retail market, and significantly higher than they would be in a competitive retail market for digital games. Sony has yet to respond to requests for comment. According to the lawsuit, gamers are paying as much as 175% more for downloadable games compared to the same games on disc. Callum, how do you feel about this? I've encountered my first frustrations with just being locked to PlayStation Store when I got to see a bunch of deals for Assassin's Creed Valhalla popping up everywhere for Xbox and whatnot, where you could get the code pretty cheap through like Best Buy, other outlets, but there's no way to do that when you're locked into that digital only component with the digital only PS5. But how do you feel about this?
I don't know. I think it swings and roundabouts because the PlayStation Store is also probably the best store, probably with Steam in terms of sales as well. Like there are so many games that I've picked up off the PlayStation Store for ridiculous prices I'd never be able to get the physical version for. So yeah, I don't know. It's not really something I maybe know enough about to understand why the lawsuit sort of been actioned in the first place. But I think the thing with physical games is that they're distributed amongst so many other people that they will be lower than the digital price because there is competition. But I don't think it's necessarily something that deserves a lawsuit just because the only place to digitally buy games is through Sony's PlayStation Store. Because it stops, so many problems from happening, like with G2A and all these code reseller sites where all of these game codes are bought with stolen credit card information, to the point where it costs game developers money to have their games being sold on these websites. So maybe it's a way to protect the developers selling their games on PlayStation. I don't know, but I just know that when keys can be distributed on places like G2A or CD keys or anything like that, I know that the developers can be really, really badly negatively affected. So there could be that. And also, just going back to the PlayStation Store always has such amazing sales on that I never feel, done wrong by the pricing. In fact, I bought Resident Evil Village for $54.99, which I thought was quite a good price for a brand new AAA game. So I don't really see the problem in restricting digital distribution to one store, but obviously somebody does.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, where for a while the PlayStation Store has been great for, and maybe it's just more with that PS4 era, there was a lot more sales on PS4 games, and you'll find a lot of those sales that are still going on, but they seem to be pretty much still on PS4 titles and not PS5 titles. But it's still the first year of this console, so you're not going to get, just naturally, you're not going to get a lot of deals on those games since they just pretty much came out. But hopefully we'll see more PS5 actual deals on PlayStation Store. If I'm remembering correctly, it seems like there's a lot of PlayStation 4 deals right now, not a lot of PS5 stuff. But it's interesting. We'll keep watching it. But I guess it's just once that economy or that ecosystem is locked in, you don't have that option to go elsewhere or find a better deal. It's just whatever Sony decides. At the moment, they seem to be playing nice and getting players good deals, but it's just you hope that they continue that on, because once it's all digital, it's like we're just stuck with them, and we have to just hope that they keep cutting us deals that are in our favor. But it's really just up to them. And at the end of the day, these corporations want to make as much money as possible. But I think with the PS4 issue, they seem to balance that out well, where you can get really good deals on games not very far out from when they launched. So at the moment, I think it works. But I think the fears are that once you're locked in, you don't have any competition. There's no reason to have those deals as sweet as they used to be. But I definitely felt that a little bit with getting my all digital PS5 and seeing all these ways I could get Valhalla on the cheaper side. I couldn't do it because I didn't have that disc. I couldn't upgrade to the PS5 version. It was a whole thing. But so I feel a little bit of that. But still at the same time, like you said, there are pretty good deals on PS4. So hopefully they keep it running and on to PS5.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole sort of G2A thing as well is it's just too easy for games to be not pirated, but bought in a sort of non-ethical way and then resold. And because the problem is if these keys can be bought by people and then sold, resold, because that's the only way to have multiple distributors for digital games. They need to be able to buy the keys and then sell these keys on to then put into the store. But that's how what people do is they'll buy these keys with stolen credit cards, stolen credit card information, and then as soon as that person reports that their credit card's been stolen, they'll be refunded the money that was originally spent, but that key's still out there in the wild. It will still work. So it costs. So maybe PlayStation just trying to protect their own studios, the people distributing their games on the store. And I think if they, like I said, if it was to go all digital, I don't think they would sort of just hike the prices because it's the only way you'd be able to buy them, because then people will just buy a PC or buy an Xbox and go elsewhere. So I think that competition will always be there. I just don't personally feel like, I mean, there's always going to be, I mean, I've definitely seen it where I've seen, because I've got the digital PS5 as well, I've seen it where I could buy the disc version for a lot cheaper, or I see these deals which I can't get. But it's the same as if I see a deal for a game at Best Buy, for example, I can't get that because it's in another country, and sort of things like that. So Yeah, I just don't think it's much of a problem that's deserving of a lawsuit, especially. And I think that looking at things like G2A, where we've seen developers really badly affected by having multiple digital distributors, I think that that's probably the way to sort of look at why they probably do this. But I don't know if that is the case, why they do it or not. But I think it's definitely a good way to protect that from happening.
Gotcha. Yep. Well, this is my lawsuit that I started, Callum, and I also started the National Outdoor Intercourse Day. So I'm offended that you don't like my points, but we will move on.
I like the National Outdoor Day, so that one's fine.
Okay, we'll keep that then. We'll keep it going. So this next one here, Callum, was also floating around online. Sony admits it might have to redesign the PS5. So this is Daniel Piper of creativeblock.com. It's now been reported by IGN, all the big ones. But at the time it was just this outlet, and I'm ride or die for the first article I find. I'm going to post it up here. So that's why there's this questionable outlet, but now it's everywhere. So during the company's annual earnings report, Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki confirmed that a shortage of semiconductors is behind delays to the production of the PS5. And to counter that problem, Sony is even considering changing the design of the console. According to our sister site T3, Totoki claimed in a report that Sony is hoping to surpass 14.8 million sales in 2021, which was the second-year sales figures for the PS4. But to do it, Sony would have to make changes to meet demand. For example, Totoki said we could find maybe a secondary resource or by changing the design. While it's surprising to hear that the design of the brand new console could be about to change, we would be surprised if said redesign is entirely internal. Adjusting the amount of silicone needed inside the machine could help Sony mitigate the shortage of semiconductors. So this has been floating around. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll get a PS5 Slim, but they're saying that possibly they could redesign internals to just get more use out of the silicone because it's so limited to make more PS5s. But what do you think about this? Do you think we'll see some of this very soon, or this is still a year, 2 years out?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really cool idea, though. I think it's nice that they're looking to do something quite drastic to ensure that more people can get their hands on them. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I can't say I've seen anything on this scale sort of like this before. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I'm not sure how long it would take to get this sort of going, but
right.
Yeah, if it means they can produce more, I mean, it's very, we've said lots of times, it's very particular circumstances, so it seems like a good way to tackle that and to try and rise above it.
Yeah, it's I think everyone's trying to just figure out what they can do to still meet production demands. Then you have this side of things, but then you have, say, NVIDIA with the RTX cards. They just keep rolling out new ones. I don't think they're really doing anything behind the scenes, but they keep rolling out new tiers, but no one can get these in the first place. So all these different approaches, it seems like, to tackling this problem.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I just like the article said, I don't think it means we're going to get a PS5 Slim. I don't think that redesign's coming for a while. But if they can somehow remove, I don't see how there was extra silicon in the PS5s, but if they could remove chips and whatnot to then make another PS5, then go for it. Does that mean these are going to be weaker? I don't think so. It seems like they're still going to meet whatever requirements, but they're pulling out whatever extra stuff that somehow was in there to make another one. So we'll see how that goes. But it is interesting. So yeah, hopefully that translates to more people getting PS5s in 2022. We'll see how long that takes them. Alrighty, Callum, our next one here is Sony patents help system that connects struggling players with experts. This is Liam Wiseman of IGN. The patent filed last week is described as a system that allows for connecting a player to expert help in real time during the gameplay of a gaming application. Sony cites the reasons for this as increased video game complexity that adds extra challenge for players. According to Patent Scope, the patent exists due to the possibility that a user may reach a point in a video game that is seemingly impossible to navigate through or solve, resulting in the player quitting the game because a user can find no way to advance. When triggered, the system would select from a pool of experts and find one that is available to help the struggling player. A system like this could also help to support players with disabilities that might find either the layout or functionality of a game particularly challenging. Kadim, how you feel about players linking up with experts online and helping them beat Returnal finally?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's just really strange. I don't know why they keep patenting these like just really odd, strange, like Black Mirror-esque things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with just Googling it. I mean, there's so many websites that all have their own guides, and YouTube's a thing. You don't need to speak to somebody live or an expert, which is just such a like, even just being like touted. If you were to be touted as an expert on a certain game, you'd just be like, oh, it's just weird. But yeah, I can't imagine that's something. I think this might just be another thing like similar to that little robot companion, where it's just probably never ever going to even happen. But they're just patenting it.
I want that little robot buddy.
They're just patenting it because someone had a weird dream one night, and just in case somebody tries to steal that idea,
right?
But yeah, it's very weird.
I think there are, so there's a lot of problems because you have to make sure these experts aren't just trolls and they're just going to be like bombarding whoever actually needs help with, whatever, like racist slur or whatever. It's like, yeah, you have to make sure these people are normal people, these experts, which is the whole thing in general. Then you have to make sure you have enough that can actually be reached by someone. So when they happen to have an issue, they can Skype with them or something through the PS5. So there's the issues there, but there is the side of this that could be beneficial where it's like they mention playing or helping players with disabilities. That could be dope. But it's just a matter of like, you have to have enough of these people on hand ready to go and making sure they're not crazy. They're actually helping the person. And it's a lot going on, but I wouldn't mind some help with Returnal. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Although with you mentioned some of the features like on PS5, there is that way to bring up YouTube tutorials in game. With Returnal, does it have that? I've never really used it on PS5 at all. So does it have that help that's naturally built in?
I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if my internet is good enough to sort of like display everything properly as it should. But yeah, I think the only game I've really noticed that in which has worked like flawlessly was Astro's Playroom, where like collecting the collectibles, you could literally press the PS button, it will come up with the nearest collectible and it will show you exactly where it was, which was really nice, like especially when doing like the cleanup for like the trophies. It was just a really nice and easy thing to use. I know that from playing Sackboy as well that they've got a similar thing there. But yeah, I know that Returnal definitely has at least like the tiles with the percentage of each biome, and you can track like your artifacts and track the collectibles and things like that. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's got the little video feature. It might do. Again, it might just be my PlayStation sort of saving itself from the awful Wi-Fi I have.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, this is like you mentioned, they patent stuff all the time. There's that cool robot deal that I'm hoping becomes real, but this could just be another thing that they put on the shelf, Indiana Jones style, where they just have all their patents in a room that they never use. So we'll see what happens with that.
A little expert robot to come and sit next to you and tell you how to beat Returnal. That'd be a good combination of the two.
Yeah, I want that. We can go, me and my robot buddy can go celebrate outdoor, what was it? Outdoor fornication day or outdoor sex day. We can go celebrate that together and everyone can be fine. Alrighty, Cam, we got the next one here. Mass Effect Legendary Edition has 3 platinum trophies on PS4, 130 trophies in total. I'm sure you'll be pleased with this news. This is Robert Ramsey at pushsquare.com. Yeah. So the trophy list for the upcoming remastered collection is now online, and it's gigantic. Each game in the trilogy has its own list, and there's an additional smaller list that covers challenges across all 3 games. In total, there are 130 trophies to unlock and 3 platinums, 1 for each title. However, as with the original releases, reaching 100% completion ain't going to be easy. You'll need to beat all 3 games on the often rock-hard insanity difficulty and accomplish all kinds of varied tasks. Dare we ask, if you're striving for 100% completion of Mass Effect Legendary Edition, start planning your platinum campaign in the comment section below. That's from that pushsquare.com article. Cam, how do you feel about a bunch of trophies on trophies, and 3 platinums with this?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting how they've added a 4th list. I haven't seen that in any other game, and I think it's like a really, really cool idea. It's kind of like an elite like list to sort of just add on to what is already going to be really, really difficult trophy list to 100%. As much as I really like Mass Effect, I don't know if I'll be able to platinum any of these, but I'll definitely give it a go and see if there's enough time on the planet to do that. But I think the problem is there's just so many games. I just don't know if I'll be able to dedicate enough time to at least doing all three anyway. But yeah, I think it's a really, really cool idea. It's nice to see companies taking trophies and achievements seriously and looking to innovate in that area, because it is something that I think can be just forgotten about in a lot of ways. And as much as there are a lot of people that don't care, there are also a lot of people that do care. So it's nice to see it sort of actually a company trying to do something good there, because as much as there are some people who don't care, it doesn't affect them if they make the trophies, really great for those who do. So I think I'd like to see, more of this kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And especially you kind of have to do this. There's 3 games together. So, and I think they all initially had their own trophy or platinum possible with the PS3. So it makes sense to combine them all. It's just on paper, it seems nuts to have this entire trophy list possible with all these games. Were you able to get the platinums when they initially launched with either of the original Mass Effects?
No, I mean, I only played the series quite recently on Steam, and that was just to get through and just experience the story, really. So I played them on PC, so I wasn't bothered about anything like that. But yeah, no, now I've got it on PlayStation, and it is a series that, because before I even played it, I didn't even like the series at all. So now it's definitely something I'll consider. But I'm not even sure what. I mean, I'll have to look at the trophy list to see what that's going to be there, because I'm not even too sure what there are in terms of collectibles or things like that that's going to ask you to do. So yeah, I'll be really interested to see what it asks of you.
Yeah, and this comes out next week, so it's May 14th. So this entire month, we got last month at the very end, we got Returnal, we have Resident Evil, now we have the Mass Effect collection. Like, it's getting... Now we're in the swing of things where it's heavy loaded for sure, and there's not enough time with all these games, especially Returnal, the amount of time needed to actually master that game. Then you have Mass Effect, the 3 of them together, and then you have Resident Evil. That, I think, combined, Resident Evil is probably the one you can get through the fastest, but yeah, it's not going to be easy here. But are you going to be picking this up day one when it comes out next week?
But I don't know about day one, just because I've still got Returnal and Resident Evil to play, and also I just can't. It's just I can't be bothered to buy games with my current internet, just because I know it's going to take like a week to download them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely be getting it, because we've also got like Ratchet and Clank coming, and there's a couple of other games that I can't remember, but they're definitely coming soon too. So it's going to be a lot of crowded. It's going to be a crowded area for games, but I'm not too bothered about rushing in for this, because again, I only played them recently for the first time, so I don't mind waiting for a little bit. But I think it's like $49.99 on the store, which I think is a really good price, especially considering it comes with all the DLC as well, and there's supposed to be like hundreds of hours worth of content with the DLCs, so which I didn't play either, so that will be all fresh content for me. So I'm definitely excited, but yeah, whether or not I'll get it day one, that all depends on sort of what real estate I've got in terms of playing everything else.
Yeah, now you really need that disc version of the PS5 with your shitty internet. It's like now where you actually need that version and not the only digital way to go. But
yeah.
Alrighty, we got our last one here. PlayStation acquires minority interest in Discord following Microsoft's buyout interest. This is of IGN. Jim Ryan, president and CEO of PlayStation, announced that the partnership in a short blog post. Though aside from disclosing its minority stake, not a lot of details were shared. So, quote, empowering players to create communities and enjoy sharing gaming experiences is at the heart of what we do, Ryan writes. So we are beyond excited to start this journey with one of the world's most popular communication services. The news of PlayStation's minority stake comes off the heels of reports that Discord has halted talks of a buyout with 3 potential buyers, including Microsoft. Reportedly, the tech giant was ready to offer $10 billion for Discord, but those negotiations have been put on hold with the potential to be rekindled in the future. So this one had more steam online because there was a huge rumor that Xbox was going to buy Discord. And then Discord turns around and says, yeah, that's cool. We're going to make this deal with PlayStation. It's not a full-out buyout. It's just a minority stake. They haven't released how much of a stake that they have purchased of Discord itself. But it's just big in the context of we had that drama for a while where Xbox was in the wing to pick them up, and now they turn around and make this deal. But how do you feel about integrating more Discord stuff with PlayStation and this buyout in general?
Yeah, I'm so pleased. It's one of those sort of dream partnerships. I think that a lot of people have been wanting for a long time. Especially being somebody with a PC and a PlayStation and having friends that only play on one or the other. So it's a good way to combine sort of those communities, even if it's just, I don't even necessarily mean like crossplay. I mean just in party chat, just chatting whilst you're playing.
Yep.
On the different platforms. So yeah, it's really, really exciting. I definitely didn't expect it. When I saw Microsoft were, in talks, I thought, we'll probably never see it on PlayStation then, but it's sort of a big turn of events. And it should hopefully just make life easier for people wanting to play with friends across different platforms.
Yeah, Discord has really increased in value and the amount of use it gets. I mean, I think the pandemic also skyrocketed that value, but even before that, it was still kind of the standard for communicating with players, online and keeping those communities going. And then you have the actual Discord like chat rooms, which I don't understand at all. Then you have like the voice chat, which makes more sense to me. But then right before that, it was already huge, and then you have the pandemic where everyone's jumping on there, and that's how people are linking up online, and so it's just a huge property now. So when Microsoft, those negotiations are coming around where, it's going to drop 10 billion. It's like, that's how much they've increased in value in these past couple of years. But I wonder behind the scenes how much money Sony has given them. They're not buying them out. They're just putting enough money in there or buying enough as far as like shares go, I assume, to like make this deal happen. I don't know how much money they're throwing on the table for them to just disregard that deal with Microsoft that was potentially happening. But I think it seems like Sony's throwing some serious money to have that integration and not let that be lost, even if they are bought by somebody else.
And the PlayStation 5 sort of current party chat is a bit it already needs a rehaul. I think it's a little bit complicated and fiddly. So hopefully it means that they'll look at sort of how they can rehaul that as well to integrate it into sort of everything as well. Because I mean, obviously it's not going to be like the PC version, but hopefully it just gives them a reason to look at how everything's currently set up and change it so that it actually makes sense.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if you could just press that home button and then you have that option to chat through there, because it is kind of cumbersome to chat through that normal PS5 menu option, and setting the little voice options is super limited. So if you could just sync up live, I know you can create the like closed parties, through from a PS5 user to another user. I think I wonder, I haven't tried it, but if you can communicate or create like a party chat on PS5 with a PS4 user, I imagine they're using the same network, so you can do that. Gotcha. But so if they can improve that more by using the stuff that Discord has, that'd be awesome. But I think it's not in this article, but I did read this is still not coming anytime soon. It would be like end of the year this year, or 2022 is when we would see some kind of update, bridging that gap and allowing that service to carry over.
Yeah, and it is actually quite interesting, I think about it, because I think the reason I found the PS5 sort of voice chat quite confusing is because it does work a little bit more like Discord, because you have sort of these like parties that you create, and then everybody's then in that party forever, and you can start a voice chat in that party, and then people can drop in, drop out, same as Discord with voice channels and servers and things like that. So, I mean, I don't know how long this has been on the cards, but it seems like already that they've tried to go for something similar to Discord. But I think it's just the way the UI is set out. It's just a little bit fiddly and strange. And I think it was just a big departure from how their party chat used to work, where you just create a party and straight away everybody was in voice chat in that party. Whereas now they've sort of turned these parties into like chat rooms, which have a separate voice channel if you want to talk by voice. But we'll see how it gets integrated. But I think either way, it's exciting that there's going to be some kind of cross-platform or cross device sort of integration there.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, we'll see. It's a super positive move, and the more they can do that kind of thing and integrate it and make it so just on the player base, like you want to go to PlayStation because they have those features. I mean, Discord's so big, I feel like it's got to still somehow have a presence on Xbox. You want to leave that potential community out of the loop, but also Xbox has that ability to somewhat mimic PC stuff. At least that's what they've done. Maybe they can still find a workaround to let you do that on Xbox. I don't know, But yeah, that we'll see what happens with that one. Callum, I have one last story that I didn't put on the docket, but I have it here about the Vita. So new PS Vita games will sadly cease this summer. This is Sammy Barker of PushSquare.com. Sony will cease accepting PS Vita software for submission this summer, as despite reversing its decision to remove the portable's storefront. It will still enforce policies that will effectively bring an end to new releases. Despite nearing its 10th anniversary, titles have continued to deploy on the device with semi-regularity, with Astro Aqua Kitty being a relatively recent example. So yeah, this summer it's going to be the end for new games on Vita. I think we talked about this last week, where they were going to, it seems like the wording meant that they were going to still honor games that were already there, but there was no interest in bringing new titles. So how do you feel about no more new stuff on the Vita coming this summer?
Yeah, I think it is a shame, but at least they're giving sort of a heads up to developers this time, because it was a little bit more of a shock, just sort of out of the blue before. So yeah, at least they're doing it in how it should be done. It's telling people there's a deadline before sort of actually everything gets switched off. But at least we can still buy games on there. I don't think that, as much as there are a lot of companies who are still releasing great games on the Vita, I think there's a good library on there now to sort of have fun with, and sort of a good legacy sort of library of games there. So it's sad, but yeah, again, at least they've actually said something this time.
Right. Yeah. It's funny though. You think that they do generate revenue when new titles come to Vita. They get a percentage off the sales, and it might even be with the process of getting your game on Vita requires money in general too. So with new incoming games for Vita still generating revenue, would that not be enough to keep these stores operational, at the very least for Vita? Because I mean, they're not supporting it, but other developers are, by bringing new titles. So why couldn't that generate enough revenue to just keep the store going? Like, I understand there's not a lot of new games coming to PS3, but with Vita, there's a lot of indie games still coming there, or still wanting to come there. So why not use that to just keep the service up and running? I don't understand.
Yeah, it is really sort of frustrating, just because there are a lot of people who still like to buy new games on Vita, and there's also lots of people who like to release games on there as well. But I don't think Sony are known for making sense a lot of the time, and there might be stuff behind the scenes that
Sure.
maybe there's just isn't enough being sold to warrant keeping it open. But yeah, it is quite strange, especially considering there is sort of desire to release on there. But hopefully it means that we'll get a PS Vita 2, which obviously we won't. But
No, the PS Vita 2 is the Switch 2 that's coming out eventually. It's just they now ate everyone's lunch and they're still surviving. That's another crazy aspect to me, is that everyone really just gave way for Nintendo to own that marketplace, and they own the whole mobile scene, or the handheld scene, and there's just no competition anymore. But that whole area is ripe for, because the as awesome as the Switch is, there's so many ways it could be improved, and so that's a great way for somebody else to come in and capitalize on that and offer something that's better. But everyone seemed to just give it up.
It's a shame, and it did just seem to be destined to fail, especially with the really expensive proprietary memory cards and the lack of support. And it's such a shame, because I haven't met anybody who's had a Vita who doesn't think it's a great little machine. So
Right.
I just think they really knew what they were onto there. But you never know what the future holds. Hopefully one day they'll rekindle something or revisit the handheld space, but probably not.
Yeah, because even then, how do you do that and still assure consumers that they're not going to abandon it like the last one? I think once they made that decision, they have to wait at least, 5-10 years before they come back to it, because everyone still remembers what they did to the Vita. Maybe general consumers don't. They don't care. They just go, oh, cool, new, PS Vita or something else, that whatever they'll decide to call it. But it's, I don't have trust that they're going to, if they do release a new one, that they're going to also not just abandon it. So it's strange, but at least we got the Vita. It's still around. You can still find it. It's a dope little handheld that still, functions really well and performs really well. A lot of these indie games still are handled well on the Vita. So it's a bummer, but at the moment you can still find them and you can still play your older Vita games. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a bummer. Alrighty, Callum. Well, we'll end it there for the week. Where can they find you online?
Nowhere at the moment because I am not online. No. I'm on Twitter at Bear Monroe.
Awesome. And you can keep up with the show as well on Twitter at PlasticArtPod. That is it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.